Hello, I'm Matt Galloway, and this is The Current Podcast. That's the now iconic opening of The Sopranos. That show helped put HBO on the map and ushered in the so-called second golden age of television. But now, that theme song might come with another distinctive sound. Netflix looks set to take control of the TV, film, and streaming assets of Warner Brothers Discovery. That includes the streaming powerhouse HBO Max, plus Warner Brothers and DC Studios. The deal would be worth $72 billion. But hold on, not so fast, Netflix. Yesterday, Paramount announced its own bid for Warner Brothers. Whatever happens, industry watchers think the world of film, TV, production may never be quite the same. Barry Hertz is one of those people. He's deputy arts editor and film editor for the Globe and Mail. Barry, good morning.
Good morning, Matt.
Let's start with the basics. What is Netflix looking to buy here?
Netflix is looking to buy the entire catalog of Warner Brothers Discovery. So that includes their film studio, that includes their television production outfits. It does not include their linear broadcast television networks, but basically that would include the entire raft of intellectual property, 102 years worth of blockbusters and acclaimed cinema, all under one roof.
Run through the names of some of the bits of blockbuster history that would be part of this bid.
Well, I mean, we have everything from, golden age cinema classics like Casablanca and The Maltese Falcon to almost the entire catalog of Stanley Kubrick to modern day blockbusters in the worlds of Harry Potter, DC Comics, including Superman and Batman, Lord of the Rings, and then, on the television side, everything under that HBO umbrella, Game of Thrones, Sopranos, but also Big Bang Theory, Friends, huge sitcom staples here. So we're talking about a very significant chunk of 20th and 21st century pop culture.
And so Netflix, which is already big, would get a whole lot bigger. What does that mean? I mean, for a streaming service, does it become kind of the one-stop shop? This is where you go if you want to stream things?
I mean, basically, it is you can only kind of put it in terms of world domination. And I would already say that, Netflix has kind of become that de facto streamer. Like if you are a household and you are looking to cut back and you are looking at your streaming options, I would say more than likely Netflix is the last one that you will sever ties with. It is just that huge and it has just that large a catalog. But yeah, so you're exactly right. It would become that one-stop shop. There would be just that fewer competitors on the landscape.
What does that mean for us in Canada? I mean, Crave is the place where HBO shows are available. And so if HBO then ends up being part of Netflix, what does that mean for Crave?
I think it can only mean bad news for Crave. I mean, Crave has an output deal with Warner Brothers Discovery for all that wonderful content, including HBO. And from my understanding, that that deal lasts for several years into the future. But who's to say that when Netflix does, or if it does, acquire the Warner Brothers treasure chest, they wouldn't pay handsomely to break that deal. But that would leave Crave in a very perilous situation, because I would say the majority of subscribers to that service are doing so to access that Warner Brothers content.
Yeah. This deal was announced on Thursday night, and you wrote in the Globe and Mail, moviegoing might have died on Thursday night. That sounds dramatic.
I mean, it was dramatic, but, I had to use the language of Hollywood to get across the urgency of the situation as I see it. And, to be clear, it's not dead. It's not dying today. It's not dying tomorrow. It probably will die for another year or so. But, I still believe that if this deal with Netflix does indeed go through, and there are very large regulatory hurdles and a long timeline for this to happen, theaters would be decimated. There are, Warner Brothers as a standalone studio entity was responsible for delivering, a dozen to 15 big high-profile movies to movie theaters each year. With long theatrical run dates. If theaters are robbed of those movies, if Netflix says, no, we're going to punt those straight to streaming under our new kind of corporate ownership, then exhibitors are going to be in that much more of a perilous situation with the amount of product they have to entice filmgoers into their buildings.
Ted Sarandos, the co-CEO of Netflix, yesterday said, calm down. None of this is actually going to happen. He said that there's no intention to shut down parts of Warner Brothers or meddle with the way that it's operated its film studio, releasing those movies that you're talking about in theaters. Have a listen to Ted Sarandos.
We're deeply committed to releasing those movies exactly the way they've released those movies today. The theatrical business, we have not, been talked a lot about it in the past about wanting to do it because we've never been in that business. And when this deal closes, we are in that business, and we're going to do it. If we did this deal 24 months ago, all of those movies we saw this year do so well at the box office for Warner Brothers would have been released in the same way in theaters with the Warner Brothers operating entity. We think it's really important the way that they create and the way that they drive value. We didn't buy this company to destroy that value.
What do you make of that, Barry? Nothing to see here.
Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it, Matt. Netflix has been built on a business model that is indifferent to theaters at best, hostile at worst. This is a direct-to-consumer business that cuts out the middleman very intentionally and very smartly. They are huge innovators, and I'm not denying the amazing work that they have done in upending this business to their advantage, but they are not in the theatrical business. And though that clip did not say it, there was an earlier quote by Ted Sarandos that talked about the theatrical window and the evolution of that and what that will look like once Netflix gets a hold of it. And the theatrical window, just to break it down in the easiest terms, is the amount of time it takes for a movie to go from a movie theater to a home entertainment space, be that streaming or, transactional on-demand video, et cetera, et cetera.
And that's getting shorter and shorter. They just released Jay Kelly, this film with George Clooney, which was in the theaters for, 5 minutes? And now I can watch it on Netflix.
Yeah, exactly. That's, Netflix likes to talk a big game about how they released, 24 movies in theaters last year, or over this past year, rather. But what they don't really underline is that, okay, what theaters were those playing? Very few, because very few exhibitors are willing to cannibalize their business. And how long have those films been playing in movie theaters? Very short, like 1 or 2 week runs, and then they are immediately available to stream. So it is really more of a move to placate the kind of prestige filmmakers and stars Netflix wants to work with, the George Clooney's of the world, rather than any affection or desire to increase that theatrical landscape.
If you have a colossus that is in charge of the stories that are told, what does that mean for the kind of stories that get told, do you think?
Fewer stories get told, more homogenized stories get told. If there are fewer places to shop your stories, if there are fewer places to convince that this is a film or television series that needs to be made, then there will be fewer voices out there. Competition is good. Competition breeds creativity. Competition breeds variety. And to have one huge umbrella over so much of culture, global, worldwide, is, I feel, bad for storytelling and bad for audiences.
Is it bad for the business here? There is a huge film and television industry in this country. What would that mean for that industry here?
That's an open question. Netflix does a lot of business here in terms of what we call foreign service production. Basically, shows that have an American or non-Canadian creative team, writer, director, stars, but they come here to take advantage of our tax credits and our, low dollar and our big infrastructure. Netflix seems to be saying, this will increase production. We are doing this to leverage, our distribution method, and we'll make more of the things that you watch. So theoretically, yes. But at the same time, I can't really buy that necessarily. I can only see fewer feature films being made and thus fewer jobs. And that includes in the Canadian ecosystem.
What about control? One of the things people have talked about this is the vault. In the digital age, once things get removed from a platform, it is really hard to find them again, at least in a legal source that is not going to, fill your computer with spamware. What influence could Netflix owning that much intellectual property have on actually getting access to those films and TV shows?
I think it's huge, and it can't be underestimated. If you were to look on Netflix today for a film, say, made before 1975, good luck. Warner Brothers, for all of its, faults and missteps, just like any major contemporary studio, they are very committed to physical media and the preservation of such. Netflix, on the other hand, has not put almost any of its titles onto DVD, and for good reason in terms of their business philosophy. They want you to stream. They don't want you to go to a Best Buy and buy a DVD. But as you say, like, all those titles will be locked away and inaccessible. And when you have different streaming services out there, like the Warner Brothers owned HBO Max in the States or Crave here, there's that many more options to seek those titles out. And there's a competitive edge to putting those out because you want to, undercut the competitor and appeal to the consumer. But if Netflix holds the one key to everything, well, should we be trusting them with that responsibility?
I have to let you go, but I mean, this isn't a done deal. There is this rival bid by Paramount Skydance. There are also antitrust laws that could come into place. You have said, and the piece that you wrote, the headline was that this is going to be a disaster. Is there the possibility that it could be disruption as well? That this could be an opportunity for reinvention, to change how we think about film and television, maybe for the good? That there will be, yes, some carnage, but that this could actually end up being a necessary reinvention or disruption?
I'm going to take the cynical view and say no. I cannot see any good coming out of this other than lining the pockets of shareholders and, executives in the C-suite who will walk away with sweet paydays. It's not as if Warner Brothers was this distressed asset whose house was on fire. We have two major corporations willing to pay tens of billions of dollars to gobble up its assets. I cannot really see any innovation coming out of this other than more of the same and homogeny and really corporate greed, to be honest with you. Sorry. Sorry, everybody.
Sounds like a movie in and of itself. Barry, thank you very much for this.
Thank you.
Barry Hertz is the film editor for the Globe and Mail. This has been The Current Podcast. You can hear our show Monday to Friday on CBC Radio 1 at 8:30 a.m. in all time zones. Or you can also listen online at cbc.ca/thecurrent or on the CBC Listen app or wherever you get your podcasts. My name is Matt Galloway. Thanks for listening.